Okay, hello everyone, good evening. The October 10th, 2024 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart? Ms. Barnhart is present. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy? Ms. Bartholomew McCoy is present. Mr. Baines? Mr. Baines is present. Mr. Blankley? Mr. Blankley is present. Ms. Bonnick? Ms. Bonnick is present. Mr. Brew? Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Burgess? Mr. Burgess is present. Mr. Chardy? Mr. Chardy is present. Mr. Colby? Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Cruz? Mr. Cruz is present. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman? Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman is present. Mrs. DeFlorio? Mrs. DeFlorio is present. Mr. Dondorfer? Mr. Dondorfer is present. Mr. Frazier? Mr. Frazier is present. Ms. Hasman? Ms. Hasman is present. Ms. Hugh Smith? Ms. Hugh Smith is present. Mr. Johns? Mr. Johns is present. Mr. Keller? Mr. Keller is present. Mr. Long? Mr. Long is present. Mr. Mafucci? Mr. Mafucci is present. Mr. McCabe? Mr. McCabe is present. Ms. McIntyre? Ms. McIntyre is present. Mr. Milne? Mr. Milne is present. Mr. Morris? Mr. Morris is present. President Roman?
Here.
President Roman is present. Mr. Sinclair? Mr. Sinclair is present. Ms. Smith? Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons? Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. And Mr. Udelson? Mr. Udelson is present.
Thank you. Please stay seated. I would like to introduce Father Bob Worth from St. Francis Cabrini Parish, who has been invited by Legislator Dondorfer to lead us in a moment of prayer.
I've come to the conclusion that I may be the most privileged clergyman in the whole city because I've been able to do this twice in one calendar year. I was just with you in June, so thank you so much. I'm going to share a blessing with you tonight from a book that I use for many occasions. It's by a man named John O'Donohue, and it's called To Bless the Space Between Us. So think about blessing the space between the legislators and the guests tonight. Think about blessing the space between the legislators and your constituency. Think about blessing the space between you and the person on either side of you. Think about blessing the space on either side of this aisle. And it's all about a leader, what a leader should be. And if you're looking for a New Year's resolution, pick out one of these things that might need a little attention. And you can not worry about losing weight or those other crazy things we do during New Year's. For a leader, may you have the grace and wisdom to act kindly, learning to distinguish between what is personal and what is not. May you be hospitable to criticism. May you never put yourself at the center of things. May you act not from arrogance, but out of service. May you work on yourself, building up and refining the ways of your mind. May those who work for you know you see and respect them. May you learn to cultivate the art of presence in order to engage with those who meet you. When someone fails or disappoints you, may the graciousness with which you engage be their stairway to renewal and refinement. May you treasure the gifts of the mind through reading and creative thinking, so that you continue as a servant of the frontier. where the new will draw its enrichment from the old, and you never become a functionary. May you know the wisdom of deep listening, the healing of wholesome words, the encouragement of the appreciative gaze, the decorum of held dignity, the springtime edge of the bleak questions. May you have a mind that loves frontiers so that you can evoke the bright fields that lie beyond the view of the regular eye. May you have good friends to mirror your blind spots. May leadership be for you a true adventure of growth.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Father, for coming. I'll give you your certificate. Your second is here. Okay, please stand as Legislator Johns will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Legislator Johns? At this time, I ask that you remain standing. Without objection, we will take agenda item number 55 and 56 out of the regular agenda order. Agenda item number 55 is moved by Legislator Udelson and seconded by Legislator Brew, expressing regret for the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Deborah J. Milne O'Brien, sister of Monroe County Legislator Richard Milne.
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Deborah Milne O'Brien, sister of Monroe County Legislator Richard B. Milne. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the recent passing of Deborah Joyce Milne O'Brien, sister of Monroe County Legislator Richard B. Milne. And whereas Deborah passed away November 22nd, 2024 at the age of 70. And whereas Deborah was born on January 12th, 1954 in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, later moving to Honeywell Falls, New York, where she became a staple of the community. And whereas Deborah was a devoted community leader, tireless advocate, and compassionate friend whose impact will be felt for generations. A longtime resident of Honeywell Falls, she dedicated herself to making her community a better place for all. As a co-founder of the Festival on the Green in the 1980s, she helped create an enduring tradition that brought joy and connection to countless residents. Her leadership as CEO of the CADE project and her role as area coordinator for the U.S. Marine Reserve Toys for Tots program embodied her commitment to service, spreading hope and happiness to those in need. And whereas, in addition to her community work, Deborah was recognized for her dedication and achievements with numerous honors, including the DeWitt Clinton Masonic Award in 2024, celebrating her many years of selflessness and generosity. Her professional endeavors reflected her caring spirit and desire to improve the lives of others. Whether organizing activities as Assistant Activities Director at Episcopal Senior Life Pinehurst or running the Aspire after-school program at Honeywell Falls Middle School in the 90s, she touched countless lives through her creativity, warmth, and unwavering dedication. And whereas Deborah is predeceased by her parents Raymond and Joyce and her son Cade, and is survived by her beloved husband of 42 years, Edward. Children Sean and Megan, siblings Raymond, Richard, and Rebecca, grandchildren Noah, Declan, Logan, Cameron, Peyton, and Regan, and many more friends and family members. And whereas Deborah will be remembered for her friendship and dedication to the community and will be missed dearly by all who knew and loved her. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Thank you, and our condolences, Legislator Mill. We'll now move on to agenda item number 56. It's moved by Legislator Udelson and seconded by Legislator Brew, expressing regret to the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Norma Diamond, sister of Monroe County Legislator Vice President Mercedes Vasquez-Simmons.
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Norma I. Diamond, sister of Monroe County Vice President Mercedes Vasquez-Simmons. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the recent passing of Norma I. Diamond, sister of Monroe County Vice President Mercedes Vasquez-Simmons. And whereas Norma I. Diamond, sister of the Vice President of the Legislature, Mercedes Vasquez-Simmons, passed away on December 6, 2024. And whereas Norma graduated from Monroe Community College and continued her education at SUNY Brockport in health services. Norma went on to work in healthcare overseeing enrollment efforts. After decades of service to Blue Cross Blue Shield, Norma retired and made it her mission to help communities address healthcare disparities. And whereas Norma was incredibly passionate about wellness. For years, she organized grassroots efforts by building instrumental relationships with churches and nonprofits to bring services to those who needed them, such as community health fairs and informational sessions. Norma also organized sessions for the medical industry on healthcare concerns in Black and Latino communities. And whereas Norma enjoyed gardening and spending time with her children and grandchildren. She is survived by her daughters Jennifer and Mark Simmons, Tiffany and Ivoric Radcliffe, grandchildren Jasmine, Mark Jr., Symphony, Jaden, and Micah. Sisters Mary and Ralph Rivera, Mercedes Vasquez-Simmons, brothers Alex Ortiz, Mateo and Bonnie Vasquez, Gabriel and Rachel Vasquez, Devin and Suzette Vasquez, several nieces, nephews, cousins, and dear friends. Norma was preceded in death by her parents Baltasar and Elidora Matos, and siblings Edwin and Minerva Matos. And whereas Norma worked tirelessly for her community and will long be remembered for her devotion to community outreach. She was a devoted sister, mother, and grandmother, and will be dearly missed by all who had the honor of knowing her. Be it resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Sorry for your loss. Thank you. Your copies of day 12, December 10th, 2024 are available through Novus Agenda. Without exception, this journal will stand approved as submitted. Moving on to the announcement portion. Do we know if the class is here? Not yet. All right. When a class comes, I mean. Oh, they are? Are they in the hallway? Well, I'm going to make an announcement to recognize a class, and we either think they're here or they're not here. Maybe they're in the hallway. I'd like to take the time to recognize Mr. Condello's participation in government class from Aquinas. Oh, hello. We're just recognizing. Are you all in the hallway?
I have some in the hallway, some here, some are down at the monitor downstairs.
Okay, so we're recognizing them right now. All right, so thank you so much for coming, for your participation in Government class from Aquinas Institute, and a special shout out to Sam Hasman, who is the son of Legislator Hasman, and he's somewhere in the building tonight. Truly, on behalf of myself and Legislator Dondorfer, fellow alumni, we welcome you to the legislature. So, thank you. Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are available on Nova's agenda as well as online. There are several proclamations scheduled this evening. Mr. Clerk.
Would members of the Fairport Red Raiders soccer team please come forward? Also, legislators Rick Milne, John Baines, Mr. Bartholomew McCoy, and President Yaversha Roman.
Thanks. Let's go. Come on, boys. Boys aren't shy. Let's go. Bam. No, that's a great one. You might have thrown them out. I did too. Do you want to? Guys, go in front, guys. Go in front. Yeah. We got 20 players. All right. You guys got the gear. Hey, thanks for inviting us. You got the gear. Oh, we come ready to play. Don't mess around at Fairport.
Whereas the Fairport Red Raiders boys soccer team demonstrated unparalleled determination and skill throughout the 2024 season, finishing with an undefeated record of 17-0-3. This culminated in their triumphant victory as Class AA New York State champions, a remarkable achievement that reflects their hard work and dedication. And whereas each player on the team contributed to this historic season with their resilience, teamwork, and athleticism, inspiring pride in their school and the greater Fairport community, proving that success is best achieved when individuals come together for a common goal. And whereas the leadership and guidance of the coaching staff, combined with the encouragement of family, friends, and fans, provided the foundation for the Red Raiders' success, highlighting the importance of community support in achieving greatness. And whereas the Red Raiders have shown that excellence in athletics can go hand in hand with academic achievement and sportsmanship, setting a standard for student athletes in Monroe County and beyond to thrive for both on and off the field. Now, therefore, we, Yaversha Roman, President, Richard B. Milne, Legislator, District 5, John B. Baines, Legislator, District 11, and Lester Bartholomew McCoy, Legislator, District 18, on behalf of Monroe County, do hereby recognize and honor the Fairport Red Raiders for winning the 2024 Class AA New York Boys Soccer State Championship.
All right. Hello, my name is Bill Teasdale. I'm the head boys varsity soccer coach at Fairport High School. And over the weekend, we had the opportunity in the village of Fairport in the town of Parenton to attend the annual Christmas tree lighting, where the boys were honored for their state championship. And I'd also like to just take an opportunity to thank all of you. Thanks to the county, all of our area legislators that represent us, for giving us the opportunity to be recognized once again tonight. It's a great honor for myself, Coach Marco DeBoll, who's one of our assistant coaches, and Coach Tony Fromm, our goalkeeper coach. Coach Fromm actually worked alongside a lot of the deputies in the room. He was a Monroe County Sheriff's deputy for 35 years. So it's a homecoming for Coach Fromm. And I also want to thank all of the families. These young men spent several years in training as soccer players, their parents traveling with them all over the state, all over the country, attending camps, clinics, playing in games. And what a great way for us to celebrate all the years of hard work and success. So thank you for having us, and thank you for your support of public schools in Monroe County and all that you do for us. All right, you want to take that as a Fairport educator?
On three, go Raiders. 1, 2, 3. Go Raiders. All right.
We'll do. All right, and before we step out, boys, let's show them how we finish it. How do we end it? Go back up this way. Yeah, we're out. Thank you very much. We're gonna go out and grab a quick picture.
Would members of the Fairport Red Raiders girls volleyball team please come forward? Also, legislators Rick Milne, John Baines, Lister Bartholomew McCoy, and President Yversha Roman.
Whereas the ultimate goal of a team is to attain victory, and the Fairport Red Raiders girls volleyball team was able to do so at the highest level, winning the 2024 Class AAA New York State Championship. The Red Raiders' journey to victory showcased a level of skill and athleticism that made our community proud, with each hit, block, and dig contributing to their many victories throughout the season. And whereas, in addition to their stellar performance on the court, the Red Raiders demonstrated a commitment to teamwork and sportsmanship that exemplifies the true spirit of athletic competition and is indicative of the values of the people of Monroe County hold. And whereas, behind every victorious team are dedicated coaches, staff, and enthusiastic supporters, and we thank the coaches, administration, and fans of Fairport High School for what they do to support the team. And whereas Monroe County is proud to have student athletes who are able to succeed both on the court and in the classroom, their dedication to the sport, sportsmanship, and community pride serves as a beacon for aspiring athletes, reminding us all that with hard work, perseverance, and a united spirit, great heights can be achieved. Now, therefore, we, Yversha Roman, President, Richard B. Milne, Legislator, District 5, John B. Baines, Legislator, District 11, and Lister Bartholomew McCoy, Legislator, District 18, on behalf of Monroe County, do hereby recognize and honor Fairport Red Raiders for winning the 2024 Class AAA New York Girls Volleyball State Championship.
So I just want to thank you for having us here to honor my girls. Obviously, not all of them could be here today, but we do know and appreciate all of the things that they put into their season. We were actually here last year as well for our very first time as state champions again last year. So these girls have worked extra hard, some new, some old, to go back-to-back state champions. I just recently got a message that said we are one of 3 in the last 40 or 50 years that have gone back to back in the volleyball world. So it's really exciting for the Fairport community. And for Fairport, it is our only 2. So these girls really are going to hold a legacy for our community going forward. And they have also created just a bond and a teamwork. We have a motto of one family that we have kind of played through all year. And if you've ever watched any videos of my girls, you could see that on the court. We are also blessed with amazing families that come and support us all the time, and community members that do too. So we thank everyone for always coming and supporting these wonderful athletes. Thank you. They'll kill me.
You guys ready?
Oh, he's doing it.
On 3, one family. 1, 2, 3.
One family.
You guys aren't going to do it. All right, let's go.
Break on 3, go.
Would Lisa Polito Nicolay please come forward? Also, legislators Steve Brew, Paul Dondorfer, Jackie Smith, President, Your Worship.
Whereas Lisa Polito-Nicolay has exemplified the highest ideals of public service throughout her remarkable career, dedicating over 3 decades to the betterment of Monroe County through unparalleled leadership, innovation, and a steadfast commitment to the community. And whereas Lisa began her distinguished career in Monroe County as a legislative analyst for the Republican majority in 1993, where her keen intellect, drive, and determination set her apart, leading to her promotion as legislative director, where she advanced sound policies that have left a lasting impact on the people of Monroe County. And whereas her contributions to the Monroe County Parks Department are nothing short of transformative. As Recreation and Education Coordinator, and later as Assistant Director and Deputy Director of Parks and Zoo, Lisa's stewardship over 12,000 acres of parkland, 21 county parks, and the Seneca Park Zoo created spaces where families, residents, and visitors could connect with nature and each other. And whereas Lisa's commitment to transparency, efficiency, and collaboration was further demonstrated during her tenure as clerk of the legislature, where she modernized legislative processes, ensured the meticulous recording of legislative history, and served as an indispensable advisor to legislators on critical issues. And whereas, as Chief of Staff for the Republican majority, Lisa showcased her strategic brilliance by increasing Republican representation in the legislature from 15 to 19 seats, strengthening the majority's voice, and serving as a trusted conduit between legislators and the county executive's office, all while addressing constituent concerns and navigating complex policy challenges. And whereas Lisa's visionary leadership reached its pinnacle as Commissioner of Elections for the Monroe County Board of Elections, where she ensured the integrity and security of elections. Overseeing a $14 million budget, 900 voting machines, and a team of 1,200 election inspectors, Lisa's commitment to fairness and accessibility safeguarded democracy. And whereas throughout her career, Lisa has been a trailblazer and role model, embodying the principles of collaboration, perseverance, and excellence. Her ability to navigate the most complex challenges with grace and determination has left an enduring legacy of positive change for Monroe County. Now, therefore, we, President Iversha Roman, and the Republican Conference of the Legislature, on behalf of the Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize, honor, and celebrate Lisa Polito-Nicolay for her extraordinary career, unmatched contributions to Monroe County, and her enduring impact as a leader, mentor, and public servant.
Thank you very much. It's kind of a bittersweet time for me. This room is, if you could indulge me, this room is very important to me. I stepped foot in here in 1987 to watch my father be sworn in as a county legislator, District 8. And a few years after that, after he influenced my delight of politics, I was luckily enough to be hired by then became majority of 15 seats in the county legislature in 1993. So my first day on the job was in this room at the organizational meeting, and none of you were here. Oh, Kirk, you were here. Anyways, it's been a fantastic career. Monroe County has been really, really good to me. It has afforded me the opportunity to learn a tremendous amount about the legislature, the Parks Department, and finally, and most critically, the Board of Elections. I have enjoyed every day of my job here, and that's not even a lie. I truly have enjoyed it. I love all of the people that I have met through the years and all of the people that I have had the opportunity to coach, and the young people really are enthusiastic and wonderful, and that's probably been my favorite part. I have a husband that's been with me a year longer than I've been at Monroe County. And we raised 3 wonderful, now adult daughters together. And the county had afforded me the opportunity to be both a parent and a full-time parent and a full-time employee. And so you don't get those opportunities many places. So I do appreciate that from everyone here and to the taxpayers. So thank you so much. And last day is Wednesday. So if you want to come and hug me goodbye, stop in on Wednesday. And I love everybody here. So thank you so much, really. I appreciate it.
Okay. I will now recess the legislature to hold a public hearing before the Pure Waters Administrative Board. I now declare open the public hearing on resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for the Rochester Pure Waters District, County Sewers District for County of Monroe, New York.
No one is registered for this public hearing this evening.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I now declare open the public hearing on resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for the Greece Chili Ogden Sewer District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York.
No one is registered for this public hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I now declare open the public hearing on resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for the County of Monroe, New York.
No one is registered for this public hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I now declare open the public hearing on resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for Irondequoit Baywater Central Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York.
No one is registered for this public hearing.
Okay, there being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I will now reconvene the December 10th, 2024 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. And I will now recess the legislature to hold a series of public hearings before the legislature. I now declare open the public hearing on authorizing a lease by negotiation with Smith Street Partners, LLC for office space at 435 Smith Street, Rochester, New York.
No one is registered for this public hearing.
There being none, I declare this public meeting closed. I now declare open the public hearing on authorizing a lease by negotiation with Bell Atlantic Mobile Systems, LLC, DBA, Verizon Wireless Communications at Innovative Field.
No one is registered for this public hearing.
Okay, there being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I will now reconvene the December 10th, 2024 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. That being said, we will now hold the public forum. Thank you to everyone who has signed up for public forum. We ask that everyone maintain decorum during this time. We will not tolerate any disruptions during the meeting from the gallery. A warning will be issued before a deputy will be asked to remove you from the gallery. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mr. Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature. Please do not bring up any signs or props. Please do not single out any legislators. And please conclude when the buzzer sounds. Thank you for your cooperation. Our first 3 speakers are Paul Forsella, Terrence Schnurr, and Amy Jones.
Man must get off the earth to colonize space to guarantee his long-term survival. Starting with the moon of Earth and Mars, man should set up permanent bases. At the same time, man should leave our solar system forever to colonize Earth-like planets. Many have been discovered. Man must bring all his needs when he goes, including food. For other planets have no food that is likely edible for man. By colonizing other planets, the entire Milky Way galaxy could be colonized in a few million years. Now is the time to start. No more stalling on space exploration. Other civilizations in the universe have possibly done this in other galaxies. I advise against meeting them due to war concerns and due to disease concerns.
Madam President, it has never been clearer that we have a tiered justice system, with one tier for the ruling elite and others for the hoi polloi. Every day, 1 block south of here, the kind of people who work 2 jobs at Burger King and Walmart to pay their rent on Sobieski Street see their livelihoods obliterated for much less than 26 minutes of performative misdirection. It is a humorless irony that taking of responsibility is demanded in the name of Sandra Dorley. If Sandra Dorley took a modicum of responsibility for her flight, her obstruction of governmental administration, and her resistance by resigning, she could still use an ample public pension to support herself quite amply, quite handsomely, for what I hope are many happy years. And she would never again be troubled by the stresses of the job to which she so shamelessly clings. Why must she resign? To deter any of us from abusing a public trust, to shield ourselves from the just consequences of our acts and omissions. Thank you, and have a good night.
Good evening. I have some questions and suggestions regarding the Climate Action Plan. I'll start with the questions first. What happens now that the plan is completed? How will it be implemented? How will the public be able to follow the progress towards the various goals? Will the public be able to offer suggestions for how to achieve some of these goals? I think the current Climate Action Plan webpage should be used to keep the public informed of current and future plan activities and of progress made towards goals. Now is not the time to let the plan webpage go dark. Now is when you want to keep your core engaged, your advisors, your committee members, your co-chairs, your volunteers. Get them busy spreading the word about what the plan is all about and why it is so important to everyone. Use the webpage to engage the public and get them involved. Educate, motivate, make Climate Action Plan a household phrase. Engage teachers, get them excited about the endless possibilities for lesson plans. Build friendly rivalries between communities. See who can claim bragging rights for racking up the most goals scored. The possibilities are endless. But before any of this can happen, this project must be funded properly, staffed properly. In addition to the sustainability coordinator, you should have 2 full-time employees to help with a project this size. Climate change is real. We can't afford to get this wrong. The futures of our children and our grandchildren depend on the choices we make today. Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Elizabeth Henderson, Gregory Liebens-Higgins, and Glenna Chance.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Henderson. I live in Rochester. I've been feeding people organically grown food that I've grown in this area since 1988. It should not take months of sleuthing, cornering Parks Department staffers behind trees to find out that Monroe County is to be congratulated on its minimal use of toxic materials in parks and playgrounds. Most of the residents of this county would join you in rejoicing at this news. So let's declare it a win for all of the humans and other critters who enjoy the amazing parks we have in this county. I am presenting you tonight with a petition signed by over 200 people. As residents of Monroe County, we would like to publicly express our appreciation to the Parks Department and petition the Monroe County Legislature to make it official county policy and management of county lands, including all parks, golf courses, and playing fields, to use well-established best practices of regenerative organic land management that aim to restore soil structure and fertility to better support a healthy ecosystem without the need for toxic inputs. For the health of county residents, it is critical that we immediately begin to reduce and eventually eliminate exposure to toxic residues. The chemicals found in pesticides and herbicides are known to be harmful to human health, especially for youth and unborn children. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, pesticide exposure during pregnancy may lead to an increased risk of birth defects, low birth weight, and fetal death. So let's celebrate the good work that's already being done and ask that the county enlist in Parks for a Sustainable Future a free grant that will allow park staff to be trained in regenerative organic practices. Thank you.
My name is Gregory Liebens-Higgins, and I represent the Monroe County Public Defenders Union. First off, allow me to thank everyone here for their support. We have faith that our elected county leaders will help to resolve concerns that have not yet been materially recognized at the bargaining table. As public employees, we are prohibited from striking, and none of us would choose to abandon our clients in their time of need. But this dedication to our clients is what brings us here, so we can keep attention on this issue and get this contract past the finish line. Entitlement to due process is something which affects every member of the Monroe County community. Every day, we work to ensure the proper administration of justice by humanizing our clients to the court and preventing police misconduct and judicial overreach. It is vital that we are empowered to continue doing so effectively by retaining attorneys and building institutional knowledge. We know what this takes: competitive compensation, so we can be sure remaining in Monroe County is a financially responsible decision to our households. Caseload management, so that no individual attorney is beyond standards recognized by the New York Office of Indigent Legal Services. Burnout prevention, so that felony attorneys with years of experience can catch their breath without leaving the office. And arbitration, to ensure these measures are protected by an enforceable contract. I'm proud to be a Monroe County Public Defender, and I'm confident in the passion of my colleagues to make our standard of representation a model across the state. We hope the county shares this belief and will demonstrate its support for our mission in a fair contract.
Good evening. My name is Glenna Chance, and I've been bringing factual information on RGE's smart meters for 2.5 years. RGE has stated publicly for these 2.5 years that customers can choose to retain their safe and dependable analog electric meters. If they have a smart meter and want it switch back to analog, RGE has promised this option publicly for 2.5 years. RGE has set an opt-out meter reading fee of $11.56 a month to retain the analog meter. RGE has set a fee of $48 to switch back to the analog meter. In January 2023, 2 years ago, I advised President CEO Nilsson that stealth meter switching was taking place. She denied it and continues to deny it. Many people have reported this to me and have also reported that RGE subsidiary Grid One tells customers that they will have to pay $75 a month if they do not accept the meter.
thus strong-arming them to accept it on the spot. RGE administration and Grid 1 are aware of this, but apparently condone it. 2 weeks ago, Grid 1 carried out massive stealth meter switching in my neighborhood. Contrary to Ms. Nilsson's on-the-air statement that they will wear ID and announce themselves, they came on properties without notification or permission, switched meters, and did not even tell the homeowners of the switch. Both my next-door neighbors had to be alerted to the switch by me, and both immediately arranged to have their safe analog meter restored. They were told there are no analog meters. Up until now, I have not used the L word when referring to RGE perfidy, but they are blatantly and brazenly lying to customers. Even if they did honor their word, isn't altering a property without permission and then charging a fee to restore it sort of like the unscrupulous auto mechanic putting a hole in your radiator and then charging you to fix it? The meter box belongs to the homeowner. Put a padlock through the holes so that this outrageous vandalism doesn't happen to you. I am currently in conversations with Iberdrola Spain about RGE. Also, New York State Assemblyman Angelo Santa Barbara has a bill which will eliminate the opt-out fee. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Nicholas Carey, Micah Coons, and Kevin Holcomb.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Carey, and I'm an attorney at the Monroe County Public Defender's Office. I'm here today in support of our union. My time with the Public Defender's Office started almost 3 years ago while I was a law student at Syracuse University. I interned and now work at the PD's office because I am passionate about indigent defense. 4 particular attorney mentors, 2 of whom wrote letters that will be read here tonight, heavily invested into my time at the office. They had overwhelming schedules, yet gave me guidance as both an intern and a new attorney. All left once they began, or only got a few years into, felony work. My mentors were simply 4 out of a disturbingly high number of attorneys who left during my short tenure. They did not want to leave. They loved their work, their clients, and their office family. But the pay and the caseloads, especially felony caseloads, were unsustainable. They simply burnt out. What are young public defenders supposed to do without mentors to pave the way forward? Those who remain are overwhelmed, picking up the pieces of an office that, despite its passion and best efforts, hemorrhages talent. I lived in Syracuse where there was no public defender's office. It resulted in a complete breakdown in diligent and thorough representation of which we are all constitutionally entitled. I saw it with my own eyes representing defendants in the criminal defense clinic at Syracuse University. Budget cuts, brain drain, high caseloads, and inadequate pay in Monroe County will lead us down that same road and will leave my and future generations of public defenders here ill-equipped to provide necessary representation. This is why me and my coworkers are here today fighting for unionization. It's not just about us, it's about our clients. It's not just only about preserving talent here, it's about investing in the future. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Micah Coons. I'm also with the Public Defender's Office and a member of our union. The Sixth Amendment establishes the right to counsel for anyone charged with a crime, regardless of income. This county has a duty to protect the civil rights of all citizens, a duty which demands the same vigor as its duty to enforce the law and protect public safety. Without a contract, attorneys here in our office will continue to burn out due to high caseloads. We struggle to hold on to quality, experienced attorneys when they could go to work in pretty much any other county north of Yonkers and receive higher pay, lower caseloads, and a lower cost of living. A weakened PD's office means that taxpayers here will inevitably wind up paying for the assigned counsel program at the cost of $158 an hour on every single case that we do not take. Taxpayers are also on the hook for every defendant who is being housed in the county jail, meaning everyone pays more for the criminal system if we are not there to ensure every defendant's rights are both protected and respected. We currently handle well over half the criminal cases in this county, and prosecutors obviously are on every case. The duties and ethical requirements between both are very different. However, the greater burden lies with defense. We risk our license and livelihood on every single case that we take, whereas the district attorneys don't have that constitutional obligation that we do. A mistake on their end is a mistake. It can be rectified. A mistake on our end could end our career, and not to mention the effect it has on our clients. That being said, 2 law students can graduate from the same school with the same qualifications, and the one who goes to the district attorney's office will be more likely to get a practice order, be more likely to get early bar admission, have a higher starting salary, and enjoy numerous other comforts and fringe benefits. This contract that we're looking for is to ensure equality and to ensure that we can continue to defend the rights of our neighbors. Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Amy D'Amico, Deanna Johnson, and Kate Fleury.
Thanks. My name's Amy D'Amico. I showed up tonight to thank legislators from districts 14, 17, 18, 22, 23, 24, 28, and 29. Each of you signed the memorializing resolution asking the county executive, mayor, and sheriff to put a moratorium on homeless encampment sweeps until barriers to housing folks have been reduced. This was a non-binding resolution. It was just a simple request and likely symbolic in effect, even if we had gotten more signatures. Symbolic, yes, but it shows your community and your constituents evidence that you are logical and compassionate leaders who understand and hear that punishing people from being houseless and sleeping outdoors is not the answer to the housing crisis. We cannot punish our way out of it. The answer is reducing the barriers to shelter and housing. Last Saturday, I taught street outreach to over 30 new volunteers who will be helping our community members who have nowhere to sleep and who do not access emergency shelter. It was a short training focused on respectful engagement, and then they went out into the city of Rochester and they tried street outreach. One woman that volunteers helped Saturday was 4 months pregnant. She and her partner did not want to split up, so they were outside. They didn't know there was a code blue shelter they were welcome at, even though they are unmarried. Another woman who is living in an abandoned building has had a hard time accessing shelter because they treat people so disrespectfully where she has been. I can't stress enough how important dignity is regardless of housing status. Legislators who signed the memorializing resolution requesting a moratorium on sweeps have contributed to the sense people have that their lives are worthy of respect and dignity too, even when they have no home. And I thank each of you for your choice to sign. And to County Executive Bello, I add my request as a constituent in Monroe County to their request. Please moratorium the sweep of homeless encampments and continue to have your administration meet with advocates to learn more about barriers and end sweeps in the short term. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tiana Johnson with the T. I am a mom of 3. I'm a Rochester native and currently a 10-year Greece resident. I'm also a POTI graduate, and I sit on the executive committee member, the board for the NAACP. I'm here to raise more awareness around housing, the housing crisis, rising rent rates among us, specifically though the RAD 2 conversion in Greece that has ultimately displaced families for months. Of the 550 unit property that I live in, formerly under the HUD 236 program, which moderates rents and increases, only 307 units are now available for low income families through the PBV program. Resident forums regarding the change were not advertised in the way other notices are, taped to our doors or, constant calls. That didn't happen. They were just simply placed in the office. So if you didn't make a trip to the office that week, you didn't know that these forums were happening. But I did go that week. I did know that the forums were happening, and we weren't really asked for our input. We were just told that this conversion was happening. Let's see. So we were just told we weren't asked for input. Improper and retaliatory practices are often occurring, which is why I'm here by myself. Residents do not want to speak up because when they do, they are punished for it. They are evicted. I'm currently facing a holdover eviction due to paperwork being withheld without any explanation, none whatsoever. Along with that, my rent has gone from $1031 a month to a little under $1,700. So even the average folks who didn't fit in the PBV programs, I'm sure they're going to struggle with that massive rent increase. So there's something that needs to be done about that. I'm not sure what can be done on the county level, but I'm sure you guys want to know what's happening with your constituents, especially the Greece legislatures. This is happening literally right under our noses, and people are suffering. If we can do something, please, let's do something about it.
Hello, I am Kate Fleury of Color Westside Green. We are a local group developing solutions to climate change. First of all, thank you for Eco Park of Monroe County and that you are taking a leader role in establishing the Monroe County Climate Action Plan. We support composting food scraps and yard waste to reduce CO2 and methane and greenhouse gases. Not everyone has space, interest, or ability to compost at home. So we request that Monroe County begin by establishing at least 4 compost processing plants. This will save money by reducing the fuel needed to transport compostable garbage out of the county. Reducing methane and CO2 release from rotting garbage will help keep the climate cooler. Please help protect Monroe County and save it for all of us.
Our next 3 speakers are Kevin Lockhart, Megan Wilson, and Margaret Bassett.
Hello, everyone. I came here today because I believe that we have to create elected committee seats in the Board of Elections for taxpayers and city election districts proportional population. We cannot compartmentalize the city into a separate system. Centralized governments are dangerous and cruel. They are the opposite of democracy. Several instances of cruelty by the government against people and animals come to mind. The giraffe family of 4 that died horrible deaths at the Seneca Park Zoo, and the blocking of access to medical records afterward. Your incitement and egging on of radicals and your attacks against police officers and firefighters in the streets during unlawful assemblies where people were injured. Letting the teachers' unions traffic filthy smut to kids in the school libraries by allowing criminal books like Genderqueer, Flamer, and This Book is Gay to be distributed to our school libraries. Not letting people visit their dying parents during COVID. Stealing deceased people's jewelry at the morgue. Levying a burdensome 4% county sales tax on Rochester taxpayers without affording them access to elected seats in the Board of Elections proportional population. This government is frightening, and I'm scared of you. You already voted to block me from speaking so that I can't speak out against you. But the one thing that disturbs me most above all is your willingness to turn a blind eye to what I think is obviously child trafficking in the Rochester City School District by the commissioners through the Treasury. We have to start enforcing the 14th Amendment and create elected committee seats in the Board of Elections for all taxpayers in proportion to population.
Hello, my name is Tegan Wilson. I am an attorney with the Monroe County Public Defender's Office. I will keep my remarks brief, as many of my colleagues have already spoken incredibly eloquently about our reasons for seeking a union contract. But I do want to add that I personally am proud of the work that I do, and I am proud of the difference that I am capable of making in my clients' lives, and I would like to make a career out of this. But in order to do so, I will need the supports of those accommodations that we are asking for. Additionally, in order to make a career out of this and be as successful as I can in providing a competent representation of my clients, I need the mentorship of the attorneys that have been in our office, that know the ropes, And I need them to be able to make a career out of it and stick around long enough that I can learn all of their trade secrets. I'm reading today a note from a mentor who was with the office when I started, who I very quickly turned to frequently, and who is no longer with the office. This is from Tori Ball. She says she didn't leave the office because I didn't like the work or the people in the office or the training or anything like that. I left because I felt the county would continue to treat us poorly, not complete building upgrades, not compensate us as well as other offices in the state, and not agree to programs to give public defenders much needed programming to deal with the secondary trauma that comes with this job. To do it long term, you need some sort of sabbatical or paid leave to grieve, to get your mind back in the right headspace, and to calm yourself. Secondary trauma is very real, and if public defenders are forced to keep working in this type of conditions, it is not sustainable, and so you just keep losing quality attorneys. So in addition to all of the things that my colleagues have spoken for, I would also like to speak in support of something that our union is seeking in these contract negotiations, which is some sort of burnout prevention measure. This would allow attorneys time to deal with the secondary traumas that we experience daily. Thank you.
My name is Margaret Vassar, and I am also an attorney at the Monroe County Public Defender's Office. I'll be sharing parts of a letter from one of our colleagues, Megan Goki, who left the office earlier this year, and then I'll be sharing some of my own thoughts. This is from Megan. I've worked as an attorney at 3 public defender offices in my career. I was an attorney in this office for 4 years, and by far, my colleagues at this office sacrificed the most in order to represent our citizens with skill and dignity. Unfortunately, their working conditions and salaries do not reflect the incredible value they bring to our county. The day-to-day of a public defender is a roller coaster. We are back and forth from our offices to court several times a day. We run between courtrooms trying to catch prosecutors who haven't returned our calls and emails about missing discovery and plea deals. We're visiting clients who are housed in jail. We're arranging treatment court for our clients, trying to get them into relevant programs around the city that they desperately need. We are reading awful allegations, sometimes seeing pictures that make our stomachs turn. So many amazing attorneys at this office stay because they care about the people in our community. Like those who have left, they too know that there are better conditions elsewhere. But the ones who have stayed are the ones who have invested in the community. Hardworking, talented attorneys come and go from Monroe County Public Defenders year after year because this county cannot provide them the necessary conditions to stay. The PDs at this office are widely known for being some of the strongest advocates in the state, yet this county won't even pay them on par with this county's own prosecutor's office. Friends of the county legislature, I implore you to negotiate with the union in good faith and fairly. The most vulnerable people in this county depend on it. Being a public defender is my passion. It is what I love. It is what I've wanted to do my entire life. Passion gives people the representation they deserve, regardless of whether or not they can afford somebody. Passion doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't pay my student loans. It doesn't keep the lights on in my house. It doesn't feed my animals. It certainly doesn't feed my coworkers' children. Please consider supporting our union negotiations.
Our next 3 speakers are Mickey Perzapiora. I apologize. Sky Kelly and Chase Tyler.
Hello, I live in the South Wedge of Rochester, and I'm here to thank legislators from Districts 14, 17, 18, 22, 23, 24, 28, and 29 for signing on to the memorialization resolution calling for moratorium on homeless encampment sweeps. I am here with Rochester's Grand Pass Resistance Coalition tonight. This past weekend, we gathered folks as a community to do outreach to our neighbors on the street and give them some much needed supplies. I met a veteran who served for 8 years. He asked me if I could get him a flashlight because he had been using a Hanukkah candle to see after the sunset, which we all know is at like 4:30 now. Imagine serving for this country for 8 years and being left with nothing but a Hanukkah candle to see in the dark. Thank you to the legislators who signed on for showing the most basic act of kindness. I'm sincerely disappointed in every legislator who did not sign on, and I wonder how you sleep at night. I have seen how our neighbors on the street sleep at night, and I am sure you sleep better than they do. Please stop stealing the only semblance of home that these people have. Please stop the encampment sweeps and find better solutions. They are out there, and I am happy to help if you need me to point you in the right direction. Lastly, I want to say that the Monroe County Public Defender's Office has a right to a union, and that it is an absolute injustice that it takes this much effort from people to make it happen. Give them a fair contract. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sky Kelly, a homeowner in the 19th Ward in the city of Rochester. I'm here today to thank the legislators from 14, 17, 18, 22, 23, 24, 28, and 29 for signing on to the memorializing resolution calling for a moratorium on homeless encampment sweeps. Signing this simple, non-binding resolution appears to have been a brave act, since most of you didn't sign it, so therefore I applaud this bravery as a sign that you care enough to use your voice. Very brave, voicing support for not brutalizing people, for not stripping them of their dignity and only shelter. Perhaps this will translate to not only vocal support, but material support for repairing and truly effectively expanding county services to address the housing crisis at the root. Regarding Code Blue, it's very good that we've got the RTS buses taking people to shelters this year, a program created in 2023 through the legwork of then legislator Sabrina Lamar and City Councilor Kim Smith. This is a great service, but not exactly new and not representative of the kind of expansion that we need to address the conditions on the ground. We've been sold the idea that Code Blue has been expanded this year, but there are only 5 shelters, 3 in the city, 1 in Webster, and 1 in Brockport. Of those 5, 1 is already known to have been full as of the time of this writing. We need more beds and more shelters with fewer barriers. Reaches, Project Haven should be a Code Blue shelter. They added 130 beds last year, 50 of which were designated for Code Blue, and they aren't on the list. You all know that the shelter system in Monroe County is strained. The barriers keeping people out of shelters cannot be ignored. Check out rgpr.org for a list of shelters with a filter tool to examine these barriers. Here are a handful. Keep in mind the lack of beds overall. If you need a wheelchair-accessible facility, you have only 3 options. If you are on SSI or over income and need a free shelter, you have 3 options. If you have a pet you want to take with you, you have 1 option. This is unsustainable. You can't make the problem go away by shuffling people around. Every encampment in the area was swept this year before we even got this resolution in front of legislators. And where did the people go? They're not gone. They're not gone. And they're not in the shelters. They're picking up the pieces after what was done to them. Conduct no more sweeps, enact a moratorium. The second thing I wanted to say was this: support the Monroe County Public Defenders Union. Public defenders do vital work, and they deserve a contract that they consider fair.
Good evening. My name is Chase Tyler. I'm a Henrietta resident, and I also wish to speak in favor of the Monroe County Public Defenders. In the past 2 years, I've become acquainted with some of them and the work they do. It is good work, it is very important work, and it is underappreciated work. Few things would give me a greater sense of civic pride than seeing our public defenders being awarded a fair contract. I wish to remind the legislators that the career path of the public defender is not the most lucrative. It is one of the least lucrative for lawyers, and they are primarily driven by passion and a desire to do good by our community. Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Dan Christ, Marcus C. Williams, and Kevin Holcomb.
Dear Monroe County Legislature, my name is Dan Christ. I live in Hamlin. I've lived in Monroe County over 50 years. I'm an active member of Color Westside Green, where I share my passion in composting, growing native plants in my yard, and actively engaging my family in environmental activism. My family and I love all the local parks, hikes, and lakes. Thank you for passing the Climate Action Plan for the City of Rochester. Here are a few suggestions that can help the city reach its goal of reducing greenhouse gases by 2030. Please build and maintain multiple organic waste compost facilities in Monroe County. By doing so, the county will reduce the use of fossil fuels because haulers will be driving shorter distances to closer compost facilities. Composting organics generated locally reduces methane gas. When food waste sits in landfill, rotting alongside non-biodegradable materials, it releases methane, a powerful greenhouse gas. However, when these food scraps are composted along with paper and yard waste, they turn into usable, healthy compost. This compost not only nourishes the soil without the use of harmful chemicals, but also reduces carbon dioxide over the long term. Furthermore, earth-friendly jobs will be created on multiple fronts. On a per-ton basis, making compost alone employs 2 times more workers than landfills. An additional benefit is that the compost can be used in county parks, street landscaping, town landscaping, giving back to the community members, all without any more cost than running the compost facility. Currently, the county is throwing money away every day when households and restaurants throw away organic waste in the trash. And sadly, we are throwing away so many chances to protect our earth. Thank you so much.
Test. All right. Hey everybody, Marcus C. Williams here. This evening I'd like to talk about the Climate Action Plan. We've got all of these great discussions about what we should do for the future for reducing our waste and the CO2 and the problem of climate change and stuff like that, but we're not talking about our energy intensive future, which means that as we continue to push for more green stuff, that means more electric stuff. If we need more electric stuff, that means we need more energy production. If we need more energy production and we're shutting down gas refineries, gas plants, natural gas of course, and that means that we're not going to be able to have the energy to produce that we're going to need to use. So I encourage you all, as we go down this path, to go and look into small modular nuclear reactors. Not only are they cost effective, they always have a very great return on investment, usually within the same year, and any excess can be put out into other parts outside of our county. This is something that is a real sustainable solution and will not only help our citizens, but it'll also bring more money into the coffers of Monroe County. And I know you guys like more money in the coffers here. So my last suggestion, and this is something that I'm really up on, is you guys, I believe, and I would encourage you guys to make it so that all of the fees as far as hunting licenses and all of the fees as far as firearms licenses are actually paid by the county, because those are rights that all of our citizens should have, and it shouldn't be cost prohibitive. And even if there's just a nominal fee, like a junior licensing fee, which is like $5 for hunting and stuff like that, our citizens shouldn't have to pay that. That should be something that the government should already be taking care of. Stop billing us and feeing us to death. We deserve our rights as New Yorkers and as American citizens. I appreciate you guys, and thank you very much. Be blessed and be well. Merry Christmas.
This concludes the public forum.
Okay, at this time, we will recess the December 10th, 2024 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature, and will convene the Rochester Pure Waters District, Gates, Chi-Lite, Ogden Sewer District, Arundecoit Bay, South Central Pure Waters District, and the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District with Pure Waters Administrative Board. If there are no objections relating to 24-0349, we will move to lift and adopt all 4 districts with 1 vote. The clerk will see to it that each individual motion and resolution numbers are assigned. Mr. Clerk, please note the attendance and read the first item on the agenda.
You have agenda. Test. There we go. PWeb agenda item numbers 1, 3, 6, and 8. Referral 24-0349, providing that resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for Rochester Pure Waters District, Gates, Chi-Lite, Ogden Sewer District, Arundecoit Bay, South Central Pure Waters District, Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, County Sewer Districts for County of Monroe, New York, be lifted from the table.
Moved by legislator Hughes-Smith, seconded by legislator Mufucci. This is to lift for all 4 districts. All in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
P-Web agenda item numbers 2, 4, 7, and 9. Referral number 24-0349, providing that resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for Rochester Pure Waters District, Gates Chile Ogden Sewer District, Arundecoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, County Sewer Districts for County of Monroe, New York, be adopted.
Moved by legislator Hughes-Smith, seconded by legislator Mufucci. This is to adopt for all 4 districts. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The item carries. Next item.
P-Web agenda item number 5, referral number 24-0363, authorize the alteration of Gates Chile Ogden Sewer District sewer assets by the New York State Department of Transportation during the New York Route 204 from Route 33A to Rochester City Line Project in the town of Gates.
Moved by legislator Hughes-Smith, seconded by legislator Mufucci. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. We will now recess the Rochester Pure Waters District, Gates Chili Ogden Sewer District, Arundecoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, and the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, and adjourn the Pure Waters Administrative Board. The December 10th, 2024 meeting of the legislature is reconvened. We will now proceed with the consideration of local laws. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda?
Item number 1, referral 24-0316.LL, providing that local law entitled Authorizing a Lease by Negotiation with Smith Street Partners LLC for office space at 435 Smith Street, Rochester, New York, be lifted from the table.
Moved by legislator Mufucci, seconded by legislator Barnhart. This is to lift from the table. All in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 2, referral 24-0316.LL, providing that local law entitled Authorizing a Lease by Negotiation with Smith Street Partners LLC for office space at 435 Smith Street, Rochester, New York, be adopted.
Moved by legislator Mufucci, second by legislator Smith, Milne, Kobe, looks like McCabe, Johns. Thank you. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Yes. Legislator Reese.
Thank you. Through you, Madam President, to the administration. When reviewing the budget, I noticed a substantial increase in expected utilities, the utility line for the Board of Elections. Is that related to this proposed space?
Through the president, yes, that is correct. That is anticipating the potential move.
Thank you. Is there plans then to renovate this building to reduce the significant utility costs?
Through the chair, at this time, there is not plans to renovate the building pertaining to the utilities. There are some minor renovations being done to make the space better for the Board of Elections operations prior to us moving in.
Thank you. And through you, Madam President, to the administration, just to refresh my memory, what is the total annual utility cost that you're projecting?
Through the president, allow us a minute, please. through the president. Utilities for steam and water are $20,000 annually. Gas is $100,000 and $160,000 for electric. And those are estimates.
Thank you very much. I yield the floor.
Discussion. Legislator Barnhart. Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Yes, roll call vote.
Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes yes. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes yes. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes no. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes yes. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes no. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes yes. Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick votes yes. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy votes yes. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes yes. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz votes yes. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio votes no. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes yes. Ms. Hugh Smith. Ms. Hugh Smith votes no. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes yes. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes yes. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre votes yes. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes yes. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes yes. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair votes yes. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes yes. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes no. President Roman.
Yes.
President Roman votes yes. 24-5, local law passes. Item number 3, referral 24-0341.LL, providing that local law entitled authorizing a lease by negotiation with Bell Atlantic Mobile Systems, LLC, DBA Verizon Wireless Telecommunications at Innovative Field be lifted from the table.
Moved by Legislator Barnhart, seconded by Legislator Mafucci. This is to lift from the table. All in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 4, referral 24-0341.LL, providing that local law entitled authorizing a lease by negotiation with Bell Atlantic Mobile Systems, LLC, DBA Verizon Wireless Telecommunications at Innovative Field be adopted.
Moved by Legislator Barnhart, seconded by Legislator Mafucci. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Item.
Item number 5, referral 24-0467.LL, amending Monroe County Code Chapter 357, Article 12, to extend residential commercial urban exemption rescue program.
Moved by Legislator Mafucci, seconded by Legislator Udelson. This is for introductory purposes only. Item carries. Next item.
Item number 6, referral 24-0467.LL, providing that local law entitled amending Monroe County Code Chapter 357, Article 12, to extend residential commercial urban exemption rescue program be tabled.
Moved by Legislator Mafucci, seconded by Legislator Udelson. This is to table. All in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 7, referral 24-0467.LL, fixing a public hearing on local law entitled Amending Monroe County Code Chapter 357, Article 12, to extend residential commercial urban exemption rescue program.
Moved by legislator Mafucci, seconded by legislator Udelson. This is to set a public hearing. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item. That is it. We will now proceed with the consideration of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk read the next item on the agenda? I think that's my next line, right? Yeah. Here we go. Yes. Without objection, we will take agenda item number 54 out of the regular agenda order. Mr. Clerk.
Item number 54, referral 24-0463, election for position of Second Assistant Deputy Clerk of the Legislature.
The floor is now open for the purpose of nominating a second assistant deputy clerk of the legislature.
Goldstein for the position of Second Assistant Clerk of the Legislature.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Burgess. Are there any other nominations?
Ian Watkins.
Who was that? Who was the second on that? Legislator Morse?
Moved by legislator McIntyre, seconded by legislator Morris. Any other nominations? Okay, I now declare the nominations closed. We will now vote. We'll vote by using the name of the nominee.
Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes Goldstein. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes Watkins. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes Goldstein. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes Goldstein. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes Goldstein. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes Goldstein. Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick votes Goldstein. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes Goldstein. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy votes Watkins. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes Watkins. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz votes Goldstein. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes Goldstein. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio votes Watkins. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes Watkins. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes Goldstein. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes Goldstein. Ms. Hugh Smith. Ms. Hugh Smith votes Goldstein. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes Watkins. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes Watkins. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes Goldstein. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes Goldstein. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes Watkins. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre votes Watkins. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes Watkins. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes Watkins. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair votes Watkins. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes Watkins. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes Goldstein. President Roman.
Goldstein.
President Roman votes Goldstein. 16-13, Ms. Goldstein is the Second Assistant Deputy Clerk of the Legislature.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Goldstein, and congratulations. Next item. Yes. Legislator.
Poll with the exception of the following items, numbers 14, 15, 23, 24, 50, and 51.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Brew. All in favor?
I'd like to.
I got you. Legislator Vasquez Simmons, I have your declarations.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead. You can say them. Go ahead.
377, 0386, and 0415.
We'll do that. So we'll do that again. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Item is 14, right?
Did that include the matters of urgency as well?
Chair, if that's allowed by the rules.
No, that's fine.
I know. There's one matter of urgency. Okay.
Item number 14, referral 24-0374, authorize a license agreement with Bella Events Group for the 2025 Rochester Pride Festival.
Moved by legislator Bain, seconded by legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Is that 2 nays?
How many nays were there?
Legislator McIntyre and McKay. Thank you.
But that was,
Yeah. that's it.
it was just the two, right? Am I correct? 27-2, resolution passes. Item number 15, referral 24-0375, authorize an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Parma for the establishment and operation of an off-leash dog park.
Moved by legislator Keller, seconded by legislator Baines. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 23, referral 24-0392, authorize an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Parenton for the Turk Hill Road Sidewalk Extension Project, partially funded through Monroe County, appropriate committed fund balance, and authorize an interfund transfer.
Moved by legislator Bartholomew McCoy, seconded by legislators Baines and Milne.
Milne?
Yep.
Okay.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 24, referral 24-0393, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Department of Transportation for the Monroe County Safe Routes to School project.
Moved by legislator Burgess, seconded by legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Yes, legislator McIntyre.
First of all, I would just like to state that I am thrilled to see that the county has received thus far almost $1 million in funding between the Climate Smart Communities grants and the Clean Energy Community Programs. And this particular project of Monroe County Safe Routes to School, does the county have the intention to apply this to action item PE6 within the Climate Smart Communities program at this time? Do we know? Go through the chair, I'm sorry.
Through the president, this is a separate initiative that we're teaming up with our Department of Transportation and also our departments of planning and public safety. Basically, it's going to be an educational campaign, traffic safety awareness campaign, and a big part of it will be connecting our school flashing devices to our Regional Traffic Operations Center so that we can control them and time them from our office without sending employees out on the road.
After this project is completed, will it also be included with the application for the Climate Smart Communities PE6, which is basically this exact same. It is an action item within that program that we are a part of, and it seems to be thriving. So is the intention there to use this as part of that in our next report?
Through the president, yes, if this is an eligible, if part of this project is eligible, we will include it in that initiative.
Any other discussion? None, all in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 50, referral 24-0350, providing that resolution entitled Adoption of 2025 Monroe County Budget and establishing 2025 classification, compensation, and salary schedule for Monroe County employees be lifted from the table.
Moved by legislator Mafucci, seconded by legislator Udelson. This is to lift from the table. All in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 51, referral 24-0350, providing that resolution entitled Adoption of 2025 Monroe County Budget and establishing 2025 classification, compensation, and salary schedule for Monroe County employees be adopted.
Moved by legislator Mafucci, seconded by legislator Udelson. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Keller.
President, and through you to the administration. First of all, my sincere appreciation to Mr. Franklin, his staff, the administration, and fellow legislators for proposing a budget that is both responsible to the taxpayers of this county and responsive to the needs of the citizens. But for completeness, we should also talk a little about risk. During the committee meetings, we talked a little bit about such risks as the quite reasonable assumption that sales tax revenues the increase would return to the historical mean of 3.2%. But my question to the administration, are there other risks and concerns to this budget that you and we should be mindful of as we go through the year? Thank you.
Madam President, I'm confident I outlined the risks adequately in my presentations at all committees, but especially Ways and Means.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Barnhart.
Funding. Monroe County is the main source of revenue for Visit Rochester, so we are talking about tax dollars. And I believe a case has not been made for an increase of this magnitude. Therefore, I am proposing we reduce the increase by $150,000. Visit Rochester would still get a 9% increase over this year. That's still generous and unprecedented in recent memory. I am proposing we direct $30,000 each to Cornell Cooperative Extension, as well as 4 agencies not currently funded by the hotel motel tax. All of these agencies, according to the IRS website, are up to date with their filings. The Vineyard Farms focuses on urban farming and educates residents about growing produce and delivers produce. The Freedom Scholars Learning Center provides a seed and sowers storytellers program where they work on local gardens, including at St. Mark's and St. John's Church throughout Beechwood and North Winton Village. The Greater Rochester Summer Learning Association provides a wealth of activities for youth. And finally, the Friends of the Verona Street Animal Shelter is in great need of support for its services related to the care of animals. I believe these modest grants can do more if used this way. The organizations fit the intent for the use of hotel motel tax. This modest sum will do good going to these organizations, and Visit Rochester will still get a nice hefty increase and be able to serve the region as it has done. Thank you for your consideration of this amendment.
Do we have a second? Okay. Moved by Legislator Barnhart, seconded by Legislator Rasmus Simmons. Is there any discussion on the amendments? Hearing none. Roll call vote? Yes, we'll do roll call vote.
Roll call vote on the amendment. Mr. Udelson?
President?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I have to draw to the attention that at least the account coding described is actually incorrect.
Okay.
It references a revenue account, not an expenditure account.
So,
Amendment to review earlier today through the president to the administration.
Madam President, I did.
The president to the administration, Mr. Franklin, did you not notice an error earlier?
Madam President, my advice was accurate and it was not transcribed correctly.
so
Procedurally, Madam President, can we fix the amendment and return to it momentarily? If anyone else, I think there's another amendment that under consideration as well.
parliamentarian.
This is on the table right now. If we take it off the table right now, then it'd have to be brought up again by majority vote. What you can do, however, is ask for the correct number, whatever it may be, from the administration, and that can be added in as an amendment. So you'd be amending the amendment, if you can do that.
So I can ask the administration right now for the correct code.
And if they have that information at hand, they can provide it with you, and then you can make the amendment, move to amend, get a second, it's approved or not approved, and then we go back to the main amendment.
Understood. I would like to do that through the president to the administration. Do you have the correct code that we can substitute to amend the amendment?
Madam President, for each of the line items in the far left column, the first column, you just need to swap out item 402015 and include instead item 504215.
So I move to amend my amendment with the change offered by Mr. Franklin.
I have a second. Seconded by Legislator Hugh Smith and Vasquez Simmons. We are voting on the amendment to the amendment, which includes the strikeout of 402015 to 504215. Yes, that is my understanding. Is that a correct understanding? Okay, thank you. Yes, discussion on the amendment to amend.
To the President, to the administration, are we even, possibly to the Law Department, are we even permitted to consider this amendment to the amendment?
Through the President, looking at the type of activities and the organizations that are looking to be funded under this amendment, Typically, well, I shouldn't say typically, the hotel motel taxes are funded in accordance with County Law 224. The Friends of Verona Street Animal Shelter is in accordance with County Law 224, as is the Cornell Cooperative Extension. However, the other three noted in the amendment do not appear to be in compliance with County Law 224.
Yes, Legislator Barnhart. Well, I'm sorry, the floor was with Legislator Brew. Legislator Brew, do you have any other questions?
No, thank you to the president, thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Barnhart.
Through the president to the administration, County Law 224 provides for the welfare of children and animals, and the organizations do, and it also provides for educational activities related to agriculture. So I am not understanding what your justification is for why those other three do not comply with County Law 224, given those allowances. In fact, they offer very similar programs as Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Through the president, the Cornell Cooperative Extension is part of the land grant University of Cornell is expressly called out in County Law 224 as activities that can be funded using county taxpayer funds. So I do note that it is allowed under Cornell Cooperative Extension. However, that is unique to that organization.
Through the president to the administration, County Law 224 does provide for the for funding that goes to the welfare of children. Does it not?
Through the president, it provides for the prevention of cruelty to children and animals. It is not, there's no blanket authorization to provide for youth funding.
Through the chair to the administration, County Law 224 does provide for agricultural enrichment for the community, which these organizations provide through their programming, does it not?
Through the president, again, Cornell Cooperative Extension is specifically allowed to provide for agriculture education. I believe what the legislator might be noting is for sub 5, it is for grounds and buildings of the improvement of agricultural conditions in the county when owned and operated by a county agricultural society. That would be such as the Monroe County Fair.
Through the chair to the administration, didn't the county use County Law 224 as justification for prior contracts with social services organizations approved by this body and cited the child welfare, prevention of cruelty to children, and in those contracts?
Through the president, respectively, we were able to do due diligence on those provisions of contracts. We've just now seen this amendment. I can't speak to its applicability under County Law 224, except otherwise what was already provided.
Through the chair to the administration, so if this is approved, you could do due diligence later, and if they don't qualify, they don't get the funding, correct?
Through the president, noting that it's a budget amendment, that would then, there would be no way to unwind that budget amendment if it is in fact that these organizations are not eligible under 224.
Through the chair to the administration, did the legal department review this amendment earlier in the day today?
Through the president, no.
President Roman, I would still like us to vote on the amendment to amend.
We can vote on the amendment to amend. So it seems as if it is out of compliance, I'll allow.
I don't think it is out of compliance, but
we'll see what all the colleagues believe. All right. So we're voting on the amendment to amend. The amendment to the amendment.
To the amendment.
Yes.
Amendment is only to correct the code number, right? So the
It is
questions we
correct.
just discussed and its appropriateness would be part of the vote after that.
Correct. We would still need to vote
On the
on the
amendment.
amendment as amended,
If it has.
if it passed, yes.
Okay, voting on the amendment to amend. I'm sorry. Yes, Legislator Cruz. You have questions on the amendment
Is it
that has the
appropriate,
amendment?
is it appropriate to explain my vote quickly?
On the
Amendment of the
amended
amendment?
amendment that's
Yeah.
proposed?
Yeah.
Sure. Let's see.
I will be voting no. I think that what we are witnessing right now is a reflection of the inability to properly communicate with all parties. This last minute amendment to the budget that the county executive has created. It's not the first time that we're seeing things like this happen, as many of our colleagues have seen. And I think that if we want to see things like this move forward, and my point is that I see the organizations here, and we sometimes try to hide good intent behind bad moves. I would love to see every single one of these organizations get the funding that they would need to the work that they do within our community, right? But in order to do so, as legislators, we need to do our due diligence. And as a result of not doing our proper due diligence, we're faced to have to witness an amendment to an amendment, which to me sounds ridiculous. And to that reason, I'm voting no.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the amendment? The amendment? No? Okay. All in, yes, Legislator Bonner.
Santos on this one too. We're having to vote on an amendment to amend something that was, last minute, wasn't properly thought out or vetted. And so here we sit trying to correct something on the floor that, again, like you said, sometimes people hide good intent. And bad choices. I'm going to stand with Santos in this
Okay,
and say no.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna vote on the, go ahead.
Just for clarity, I'd like
Yes.
to explain my vote. As I understand it, we are only voting on correcting the number
Right.
that was in the budget code. So any votes about how we feel about the proposed.
This is,
Subsequent vote. And so to correct the number, I will vote yes.
Roll call vote on the amendment to the
on the,
amendment.
on the motion to amend the amendment. Mr. Edelson? Mr. Edelson votes yes. Mr. Brew? Mr. Brew votes no. Ms. Barnhart? Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy? Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes yes. Mr. Baines? Mr. Baines votes yes. Mr. Blankley? Mr. Blankley votes yes. Ms. Bonnick? Ms. Bonnick votes no. Mr. Burgess? Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Chardy? Mr. Chardy votes no. Mr. Colby? Mr. Colby votes no. Mr. Cruz? Mr. Cruz votes no. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman? Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio? Mrs. DeFlorio votes yes. Mr. Dondorfer? Mr. Dondorfer votes no. Mr. Frazier? Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman? Ms. Hasman votes yes. Ms. Hugh Smith? Ms. Hugh Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns? Mr. Johns votes no. Mr. Keller? Mr. Keller votes yes. Mr. Long? Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci? Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe? Mr. McCabe votes no. Ms. McIntyre? Ms. McIntyre votes yes. Mr. Milne? Mr. Milne votes no. Mr. Morris? Mr. Morris votes no. Mr. Sinclair? Mr. Sinclair votes no. Ms. Smith? Ms. Smith votes no. Ms. Vasquez Simmons? Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. President Roman?
No.
President Roman votes no. 16 to 13, motion to amend the amendment passes. Back to the amendment.
Back to the amendment. As amended, thank you. Back to the amendment as amended. Any discussion? Yes.
So with the law department's ruling, isn't the amendment out of order at this point? I guess that's through the chair, to the administration, or to the parliamentarian. We'd be adopting an invalid amendment.
You would not be, if this amendment as amended passes, it can or cannot pass. Whether or not the law department has the opinion that it is not totally in order or not, it's still legitimate for us to vote on it. It would be my position on that, because it's our decision as a body whether or not to vote on any amendment.
So then, through the chair to the administration, if under county law, those organizations aren't able to get the money from this amendment, what happens at that point, I guess, to the administration? With that $90,000.
Madam President, the result would be no contract would be executed, and the county would not disperse that $90,000.
So just through the president to the administration, so that $90,000 would revert back to the general fund?
Madam President, the appropriation is still in the budget book, so it is authority to spend, but without an executed contract, it would not be spent.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. I yield.
Legislator.
So to remove Greater Rochester Summer Learning, the Vineyard Farms, and Freedom Scholars Learning Center, and just to keep the two eligible. So reducing the amount to visit Rochester by only 60.
There's an amendment on the floor by legislator.
Who was the second there?
And yes, that person is seconded.
Conditions at the Verona Street Animal Shelter are very dire, and this would really be valuable to the community. Thank you.
Any discussion on the? It received a second. It received a second by Legislator Vasquez Simmons. Any discussion on that particular? Yes.
The chair of the administration spoke to either the Friends of Verona Street Animal Shelter, Inc. or Cornell Cooperative Extension of Monroe County to discuss how they wish to spend that money and what way they would spend the $60,000 that is budgeted, that would be budgeted to them.
Would that be to the maker of the motion or to the administration?
To the administration.
Through you, Madam President, no, we have not. I just talked to CFO Franklin, and he said he did have a conversation with Cornell Cooperative Extension, and they were ecstatic with the increase that we provided for them already in this budget.
Any other questions, legislator? Party?
Question to the makers of the amendment.
Legislator.
I guess I would ask, did we ask every organization how they would spend the additional funding? I repeatedly asked about Visit Rochester, and if they had a budget justification that was in writing, and I was told no. So we did not hold anyone else to that standard.
Any other questions, Legislator Tardy?
Yes. So how does Legislator Barnhart propose that the $60,000 be spent by these two organizations? In what way specifically?
Through the president to legislator, The organizations have a long track record of being very responsible with funding, and certainly I have firsthand knowledge that the Verona Street Shelter is in dire need of assistance. That organization, the Friends of Verona Street, would certainly welcome any funding to provide for the care of the animals there. It's a modest sum, and I have no concerns about how it would be spent. These are responsible organizations, up to date on their filings, and do a lot of good in our community.
Yield the floor.
Legislator Dondorfer.
Of the motion. I just had a quick question about the Verona Street Animal Shelter. Big fan of them, got my last dog from them. Friends of the Verona Street Animal Shelter, is that the organization that runs the animal shelter, or is the city runs it and this is a group, like a subsidiary group that helps them out?
President to Legislator Dondorfer. This is a nonprofit. I checked out their 990. They are part of the United Ways Rock the Day. They are a nonprofit that has consistently raised money from the community to provide for the care of those animals. But as we have heard, even here in our chambers from many speakers, there is a great need to care for these animals, and resources just haven't been there.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Bain. On the amendment.
Yes.
Okay, amendment to the amendment.
We discussed in the Recreation Education Committee meeting around the budget the way that we have historically put together the funding for the agencies that we fund. And I very much appreciate, as I always do, our CFO's candor when he said that, and I hope I'm quoting him correctly, that it's kind of a past practice. So in other words, we have funded certain entities, and then we continue to fund them over time. And we increase the funding if we can afford it over time. And at that time, I expressed my concern that we've never really had a comprehensive review of the coherence of what we're doing in terms of looking at equity, kind of making sure that we're rebalancing or balancing public dollars as we put them out, instead of relying on years ago what we did and continuing it. My request then and now is that very early in the year we look at the entire group of agencies and have a committee possibly from each caucus review it. So as I shared with the maker of the motion earlier, I think there's merit to this motion, but what we're doing is altering funds at 11:59 before the midnight hour. We're not doing it in a way that looks at everything, picking one. We were picking 5 things, now we're picking 2 things. And for those reasons, I don't think this really is going to result in a coherent process or product for the way we fund agencies, which I think we very much need. So for that reason, I will be voting no on the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes. On the amendment to amend, yes, having 2 organizations.
I hold dearly Cooperative Extension and the work they do. They've helped out many farms in this community and many agricultural businesses in this community. And as many of you know, that's very dear to my heart. And giving them more money at the appropriate time, I feel is very fitting. But with this organization and any other organization, just throwing money at them without them having a plan in place is, as a county legislator, is not being a responsible county legislator of county funds. So that's why, even though I wholeheartedly support funding more for extension, if they have a plan for the use of that money at that time, at this time I could not support this amendment, because just throwing money at good organizations makes those organizations weaker, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Nicholson.
Through you, again, just to explain my vote, this is another correction, in my opinion, to get the amendment in form so the legislator's amendment can be voted on. So I support that and will support the amendment, but that does not indicate my support for making the change.
Thank you. Legislator McIntyre.
Yes, through the chair, it isn't clear exactly what we're voting on this time yet again. We are voting on amending this to bring the dollar amount down to $60,000 and give $30,000 to the Friends of Verona Street Animal Shelter and $30,000 to the Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Correct.
Is that correct? So we are not voting right now, okay, that money, we're just voting to amend the amendment.
Correct.
Secondly, I do have a couple of questions about the Visit Rochester. I'm not on the Parks and Rec Committee, but I did notice in reviewing the budget, I spent a special amount of time on the parks, that it seems that our parks are being used a bit less, especially in the city, while in the suburbs they're being used a little bit more, looking at the shelter rental numbers, the performance numbers, and that the zoo seems to be performing worse. I'm sorry?
She originally
asking-
said, the legislator originally said something about Visit Rochester.
Oh, I'm sorry. My question is simply, where do we find the metrics to evaluate Visit Rochester? And can this body receive a report of an update of their performance with the money that we are giving them?
Through you, Madam President, Visit Rochester produces an annual report every year that is online. And if the caucuses would like, we could help people, point people to that website that the annual report is on.
Any other questions, Legislator Mack?
Oh, I yield for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the, yes, Legislator Barnhart.
Thank you. Through the president to the administration, there are a lot of concerns about a lack of process and regarding my amendment, but what is the process that you used to allocate the hotel motel tax? Did you, okay, I'll lift off.
I agree. Do any other questions in regards to the amended amendment? I said yes. My ruling is in favor. Yes, legislator.
Through the president to the law department, and maybe I need to ask this after we vote on the amendment, but if you could just reiterate one more time what type of organization in your interpretation of the law does qualify under 224, I'd really appreciate it.
Through the president, we're happy to provide that in writing. There's actually a number of organizations, or I'm sorry, types of organizations that are eligible under 224. It is quite a lengthy list, but it's not an unlimited list, and we're happy to provide that in writing.
Other questions? Okay. Hearing none, we are voting on the amended amendment. Amendment.
This
to the
is
amended
a motion to amend the amendment as amended, because it got amended already.
Yes.
This is to amend it again. The amendment passed. The amendment to the amendment passed. This is
16 to
now the
13.
second amendment to the amendment.
16 to 13. Roll call vote, yes.
Roll call vote. Mr. Edelson. Mr. Edelson votes yes. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes no. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes yes. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes no. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes yes. Ms. Bonnick. This is the motion to amend the amendment. Again. Legislator Bonnick. Yes or no, legislator? Legislator, it's a yes or no? Yes. Legislator Bonnick votes yes. Mr. Burgess? Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Chardy? Mr. Chardy votes no. Mr. Colby? Mr. Colby votes no. Mr. Cruz? Mr. Cruz votes no. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman? Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio? Mrs. DeFlorio votes yes. Mr. Dondorfer? Mr. Dondorfer votes no. Mr. Frazier? Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman? Ms. Hasman votes yes. Ms. Hugh Smith? Ms. Hugh Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns? Mr. Johns votes no. Mr. Keller? Mr. Keller votes no. Mr. Long? Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci? Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe? Mr. McCabe votes no. Ms. McIntyre? Ms. McIntyre votes no. Mr. Milne? Mr. Milne votes no. Mr. Morris? Mr. Morris votes no. Mr. Sinclair? Mr. Sinclair votes no. Ms. Smith? Ms. Smith votes no. Ms. Vasquez Simmons? Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. And President Roman?
No.
President Roman votes no. 14 to 15, motion to amend the amendment as amended fails. Back to the amendment as amended. Brian.
Back to the original motion as amended.
Back to the amendment.
Oh, it's only been amended once. Yes.
So
Yes, Legislator
what we
DeFlorio.
would be voting on is removing the 150 from Visit Rochester and reallocating it to the 5 agencies that are currently listed. Is that correct?
Right, under a new item number.
Under-
Yes,
yes.
that's correct.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Legislator Delvecchio Hoffman.
Thanks. I'd just like to explain my vote. My understanding is that if any of this funding doesn't end up qualifying under 224, it just simply won't be dispersed. I realize that it has been a little bit chaotic in getting to the vote, but I think as legislators, what we have to look at is what's truly in front of us, and I think providing funding for Verona Street Animal Shelter and Cornell Cooperative Extension while continuing to fund Visit Rochester is the right and obvious thing to do, and I think that we should vote on the merit of what's in front of us and not the process, which is known to be a difficult process. It's difficult to prepare a budget amendment in the time given, and I think that legislators have done their best to do that. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Broom.
I sit to explain my vote. And I think what we're doing is painting Visit Rochester as a little bit of the enemy here, where in fact it's not. Visit Rochester is doing a tremendous amount of work in promoting the county that we represent. The additional funding from Monroe County will enable Visit Rochester to put more resources in the organization's proven marketing programs across different audiences. Visit Rochester works to attract meeting planners, sports events planners, tour and travel buyers, leisure visitors, and the media. Funds will be used for advertising and promotions, and Monroe County is an ideal destination for these targets. Increased funding for Visit Rochester will play a significant role in attracting even more visitors and large events to Rochester, which will in turn contribute to the growth and economic impact the tourism in Monroe County in the greater Rochester area. It's been estimated that Visit Rochester and external visitors to this area contribute $1.5 billion to our area economy. Some of these programs and funds allocated would include promoting some of the following: marketing new nonstop flights into Frederick Douglass Greater Rochester International Airport, cultivation of meetings, conventions, sports events, markets, including participation in trade shows, promotion of Monroe County as one of the most family-friendly destinations in the county, anchored by growth and success in the Strong Museum of Play, along with more than 75 experiences for families within an hour's drive of Rochester. Marketing Rochester as the cultural capital of upstate New York and promotion of the arts and cultural organizations and assets of this community. Promotion of the Erie Canal Bicentennial in Monroe County being home to the must-see miles of the Erie Canalway. Marketing promotion of the region's culinary and craft beverage offerings. Promotion of the outdoor features of the community, including golf, fishing, outdoor, and recreation. I could go on and on. There are a number more in front of me on this list. But keep in mind that Visit Rochester is only there to help our community excel, okay, in being one of the best places to live in our state. And the increased funding is only going to go to build on their present successful marketing experience and successes in Monroe County. I will certainly be casting my vote in support of not supporting this amendment, but supporting Visit Rochester as presently presented in the referral in front of us now. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Huesman.
I'd like to explain my vote. I appreciate the challenge of both putting together a budget and the desire to meet the needs that have not been addressed in a budget. I will be voting in favor of the amendment because I know people who volunteer at the Verona Street Shelter, and they are in desperate need of support. I'm sure these other work in our community. Not Rochester, then. Great job with the amount of funding you have right now to promote value to tourism. Allow us to support some other needs that are going unmet in our.
Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator McCabe.
Allocation of money for this resolution came, that we left out so many other worthy groups. But I do think it's, such as veterans, but I do think it's irresponsible of this legislature to allocate money that we can't spend. This is taxpayer dollars that we're allocating that's going to sit in a general fund when we could use that money for Visit Rochester. As my colleague, Minority Leader Bruce said, there's so many good things that Visit Rochester is doing. We should be allocating the money there, not allocating money that we can't spend. Thank you.
Legislator McIntyre.
I'd like to explain my vote. I actually have a lot of experience working with visit committees and organizations. It's what I did overseas for many, many years, specifically in sustainable tourism. And I think that supporting Visit Rochester is definitely an important part of this budget, and we should be supporting them. But I do have concerns about specific metrics, which I will be happy to look at in the annual report. That being said, there are some wonderful organizations here. I don't think it's a bad idea to support them at all, but doing it in this way really doesn't allow us to do our due diligence on each one of these organizations. It doesn't allow us to do the sort of questioning that we did in each one of our committees. And I wish that this had been brought forth earlier so that we would have had more time to look into it and to discuss it. But unfortunately, by bringing it up at the last minute, it doesn't really give us the time to consider it properly. also amending an amendment and then amending it again. It just doesn't feel like this was really properly drafted up with the right amount of time for all of us to consider it in the proper measure for our constituents and for their best interests. And so while I really, really appreciate seeing something like the Verona Street Animal Shelter and Cornell Cooperative Extension here, I will be voting no on this simply because there was not enough time to review it properly, and it wouldn't be doing my due diligence to vote yes.
Any other discussion? Legislator Baines?
Thank you, Madam President. I received a letter today to the administration from the CEO of Visit Rochester, as I believe everyone on the legislature did. And in it, he references that from 2005 to 2015, 10 straight years, the Visit Rochester budget remained static. Through you to the CFO to test your memory, would we infer from that that the county did not give an increase to Visit Rochester from that statement that he's making there for those 10 years?
Through you, Madam President, that is correct. I would also like to add one piece related to Legislator Baines's question through you. You know, I saw the memo that was sent, and they make a point in there how their competition in other agencies have had increased funding. And I think Legislator Brew's point, I think, is particularly salient to what we're talking about here. The work that they do is, again, I would suggest we look at this as an investment. I know for the first time in many, many years, 2025, NYSET will be having their convention in Rochester, which they haven't done in a long time. That's going to be 3,300 hotel rooms that are booked over, I think it's 17 different hotels as a result of that. I actually had a conversation with Mr. Franklin earlier today. And, you know, really depending on what you look at in terms of the rate and the cost of the hotel room, that one convention from NYSET that Visit Rochester was instrumental in landing will net us probably $50,000 to $65,000, depending on what the average rate of the hotel is. And that would be the 6% that we collect in hotel motel tax, and then that's also the 4% that would be our share of the sales tax in general with that. So, okay. The 3,300 is the total rooms, and again, there's also a multiplier effect on that from other money that gets spent here. So I just wanted to offer that, and again, it's not, again, this is an investment in our community, and then not to mention the economic impact and the number of jobs that are related to tourism here.
Yes.
Thank you for confirming that this legislature did not give any increase for 10 years to Rochester from 2005 to 2015. Would the increase in this budget be the largest increase both in percentage and dollars, either or both, in the memory of anyone in the administration? 13%, I believe, is the percent number.
Through you, Madam President, our best guess is that probably is true. again, nobody here has a memory beyond 2005. So I would say that's probably true.
Thank you. I yield.
Any other discussion? Legislator Cruz.
Thank you, Madam President. I just rise to explain my vote. I truly believe that the process in which we govern matters, especially when coming from senior legislators within this body. We are tasked with taking into consideration the needs of not only our constituents, but many of the organizations that we wish to fund so that they continue the good work that they do within our community. Not an easy task I can imagine, to create such a lot, $5 billion and try to feed everybody. So I want to make sure that the organizations who have been struggling are getting the resources or funding that are needed. I think that is also our responsibility as legislators and the makers of the motion to bring forth such amendments in or not only to the administration, but to their own caucus in a timely fashion manner that would allow us to together have conversations that can move along not only each one of us our agenda, but the agenda of the maker of the motion. I feel, and I would end with this, I feel the need to explain my vote because as we look around, every time that there's a last minute amendment by the maker of the motion, we see cameras in this room. Organizations being put in front of us, like the animal shelter, who is in need and has been in need for quite some time. And so I don't want to be looked at as some bad individual who can't make a decision or won't make a decision for organizations that clearly do need the funding, right? I don't want to be guilty or guilt tripped or used or Armstrong to make decisions of this nature. So I just want to say that I will be voting no, and I plead for the making of the motion to come into the caucus and the body and have this discussion with us. So coming up on the 2025 fiscal year, we could do this together. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Barnhart.
I'll just explain my vote, which you know what it is, but I have 4 quick points to make. First, thank you to legislators for your consideration and discussion about this issue, which has highlighted a number of concerns over our budget process and distribution of the hotel motel tax. What I'm hearing is concerns about a lack of process while acknowledging there really is no process pertaining to this pot of money. And I'm glad to hear there are concerns and a willingness to address this in the future. As for the time it took to prepare this amendment, we had a budget hearing on Thursday. That was like 4 days ago. I asked for information I did not get. Today is Tuesday. I worked to get this together quickly. Staff gave it to the administration this morning by 10 a.m. and suddenly this evening there is a problem. So I apologize to everyone for this issue. I believe that I and our staff handled this responsibly and that certain individuals clearly wanted this to go down the way it did. And my final point is that over the summer in this room, we were told that if suburban senior and rec centers didn't need money, we gave them, because we didn't ask them if they needed it, that they could just give it back. Thank you.
Legislator DeFlorio.
I'd like to also address a few comments that have been made this evening. For anyone who has not participated in budget process in the past, this is exactly in the only time that we as a legislative body can offer amendments to the proposed budget. So we don't offer amendments to budgets in committees. Overall, this is the process. It's been ugly in the past. I know our parliamentarian can speak to that as well. Amendments have been amended and re-amended and multiply amended. We've had to take breaks in the past. So this is not unprecedented, and I just needed to get that out there. So, thank you. And
Any other discussion?
Just to echo my fellow legislator just mentioned, this is part of our jobs, to be fiscally responsible. If we have to amend and amend and amend all night, this is what we'll do. Because this is our job, right? Our primary job is to be fiscally responsible. I also would want to make a comment about Greater Rochester, I'm sorry, Visit Rochester. I don't think at any point anyone devalued them. I think they add incredible value, and I think 8% would be a fair amount to show and support the investment. I will be voting in the affirmative for this amendment. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we're voting on the amended.
Voting on the amendment as amended. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes no. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes no. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes no. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes no. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes no. Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick votes no. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes no. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy votes no. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes no. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz votes no. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio votes yes. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes no. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes no. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes yes. Ms. Hugh Smith. Ms. Hugh Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes no. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes no. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes no. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes no. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes no. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre votes no. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes no. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes no. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair votes no. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes no. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. President Roman.
No.
President Roman votes no. 6 to 23. Motion to amend as amended fails. Back to the main motion.
Yes, we're back on the main motion. Yes. No, we are not. Sorry, my apologies. We're back.
Back on the main
Well,
motion.
but we're back on the main motion.
Correct.
So we're,
Back to the budget.
go.
We're concerned about the environment. I'd like to highlight a couple of points that have been included. This budget will restore 1 million for the one of the climate action plan. We'll add a position in the Department of Transportation, focus on implementing the active transportation plan. There will be a pilot incentive program for school composting. Add a single position to the Department of Environmental Services, Environmental Quality Office. And I thank County Executive Bello for However, there is much more to be done. Some good news for you is when the People's Climate March began 10 years ago, projections for global warming were over 6 degrees. After a decade of advocacy and governments project. However, if your core body temperature went up 6 to 7 degrees Fahrenheit, scientists are telling us the world needs to move 5 times faster or to avoid the worst impacts. So I offer an amendment to this for the implementation body has support advisory committee, it's adopted on the phase 2 and has previously approved funding. So I'm asking to reduce the budget so as not to overly department and to colors to Department of Environmental Services. And I hope all my colleagues will support this amendment so we can both break the climate system. It's a
Moved by Legislator Hughes Smith, seconded by Legislator Hasman and Baxter Simmons. Any discussion on the amendment? Yes, Legislator Dondorfer.
Madam President, through you to the Sheriff's Administration, if they are here. Oh, hi. How would removing these funds impact your department and your ability to perform your duties?
Madam President, give me just a second so I can look at what was taken. Madam President, I'm just verifying what line that actually is.
So through the President to...
Madam President, I got caught up. It's a travel and training line. So the Sheriff's Department, like every good police department, has to do a lot of training to stay up to date, to do life-saving, critical, last-second decisions that have broad implications. So we have many trainings that are mandated by the state, such as for our SWAT team, our bomb team, our scuba team. Our technicians have mandated training. Our canine teams have mandated training. Our jail, some of our jail staff has mandated training that they have to go to. And all of these lines help pay for that. So staying up to date with modern training, with all the laws that are changing and being up to date with legal updates and up to date with the things changing in state law that affect the jail, especially with all the criminal justice reforms that have been happening. These all require training and learning about these different things. So obviously taking this training away would have a huge impact on the Sheriff's Department. Obviously I just got this and just figuring out the training lines. Exactly how much our SWAT training costs, would we even be able to do our minimum mandated training? I have absolutely no idea.
So through the President to the Administration, it's fair to say that this would be detrimental to some of your training at this point at face value from what you could see.
Madam President, this could be, yes, operationally, could operationally impair the Sheriff's Office if we were not able to do the mandatory trainings that we're required to do.
Thank you. I yield.
For all of these lines, back to the levels that they were in 2023. I thought that that would be reasonable since our Sheriff's Department was doing an excellent job in 2023, just as they are today. I also removed parking stipends across the board, as not all departments receive parking stipends. And any positions that are not being funded are positions that currently don't exist in this current year. Just maybe that context would be helpful to you. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Legislator Moore.
Under the cuts being requested for the medical examiner's office for salaries to the tune of $159,100, what specifically is that reduction being made? Is that a reduction in a position, portions of a number of positions? Could you explain a little reduction there?
Yes.
Medical examiners?
As I understand it, we are set to increase the medical examiners by 4 positions.
So follow-up, is this reducing by 4?
I believe so, as best as I can understand. They are currently vacant, so it's not a reduction in what we have.
Then, Madam President, just a follow-up question to the regarding these proposed cuts to, my understanding now is not filling 4 roughly positions in a medical examiner's office. Is there, I guess, a concern on needs in the medical examiner's office on not filling positions that are currently vacant?
Through the president, yes, that would be a concern. My understanding, again, I'm also processing this, but as we spoke about earlier this year, the medical examiner's office is expanding to increase its services to the community, to constituents with respect to the identification of remains. And it appears those are the positions that are being cut.
Follow up again, Madam President, through you. I'm assuming the medical examiner's office is continuing to deal with issues of backlog?
Through the president, the medical examiner's office continues to have a significant caseload, both on the forensic pathology side and with respect to the need to identify remains. Yes.
Further questions, Madam President, but I'll just make a statement that I'm extremely concerned about the cuts to the medical examiner's office. We've been talking about the needs of that office for a very long time in this legislative body, even before my coming on board to this legislative body, and I have grave reservations and concerns any cuts to that office. Thank you, I yield.
Thank you, Legislator McGahey.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to voice my strong opposition to this amendment. This amendment represents a clear and shameful intent to deprive our residents from the safety provided to us through the Sheriff's Department, the District Attorney's Office, the Medical Examiner's Office, the Crime Lab, Stop DWI in the Public Safety Department, and more so cuts to our veterans. Due to irresponsible Democrat policies such as bail reform, we have seen a disastrous increases in recidivism resulting from the revolving door of justice. Through yet another outrageous attempt to defund our law enforcement agencies, our justice system, and our veterans, we would cause a massive disservice to this county and to its residents if this amendment passes. This attempt to cut funding to all of these departments has the potential to undermine our ability to serve the community, leading to delays in investigation, delays in cause of death notifications to our families, insufficient prosecution of crimes, and a reduction in their expertise if this funding is cut, thereby jeopardizing public safety. The people of this county depend on our Sheriff's Department, our District Attorney's Office, the Medical Examiner's Office, and the Crime Lab to protect our families, to bring criminals to justice and uphold the law. Democrat policies have made it difficult to do so, making it their objective to protect criminals to the detriment of all law-abiding citizens in this county. A cut in this funding in favor of radical environmental policies would further deprive our justice system's integrity, leading to increased backlogs, unfunded legal services, and possibly causing crimes to go unprosecuted. Our residents deserve better as violent crime, theft, and more plague our streets. It is imperative that we uphold and support our law enforcement officers, our justice system, the medical examiner's office, public safety, and our veterans. In conclusion, Madam President, this amendment will be a disastrous blow to public safety in our community, and I fully endorse a no vote from my colleagues. I yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Barnhart.
President, through you to the administration, on this amendment, I'm not seeing any reductions to the district attorney's office besides parking stipends. And when I look in the budget, there were no parking stipends for anyone in 2020, or this year, yeah. So why are we bringing them back next year? Can you just explain what's going on with the parking stipends?
Through the president, there are parking stipends that were collectively bargained in the CSCA contract.
Thank you. Through the president to the administration, so when we talk about parking stipends, we're talking about money to, a stipend to park in a garage or a paid lot that is near the place of employment.
Through the president, in the current CSCA contract that is going on, that is set to expire at the end of this year, there were parking stipends that were collectively bargained. It's used for employees to be able to subsidize part of their parking, and it's been something that has been very well received by our employees based on the cost of parking, and just with recent lot closures and things like that, this has been something that's been very helpful for employees through the president.
Just one other question on the parking stipends through the president to the administration. So the district attorney, these parking stipends are for CSCA bargaining unit members?
Through the president, yes.
Thank you.
Do any other discussion? Being any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Cruz.
I would just like to extend my vote to the motion. I see your cause as a noble and just one, and I just wanted to let you know that I deeply care about climate change and its effects on our planet and our county. Unfortunately, the public safety concerns within my legislative district are too great to be overlooked, and my constituents would suffer deeply if not for the resources allotted within this budget. But I would deeply like to work with you in the next cycle to see how we can move this needle forward.
Do any other discussion? Legislator Barnhart.
Yes, I would just like to briefly explain my vote on this amendment. As I previously said during my amendment, this body gets very little time to review the budget, ask questions in committee, and prepare amendments. The system is frankly not designed to facilitate legislators doing a deep dive, going line by line, looking for places to transfer funds, as legislator Hughes Smith did. One thing that makes it very difficult, for example, the city of Rochester, and I know I brought this up before, the city of Rochester has a comparison of FTEs year to year on one page. I have to get out PDFs and convert to Excel just to find out if you've increased the number of positions for one thing. It's ridiculous. So that brings me to this amendment by legislator Hughes Smith. She worked very hard to put this together in difficult circumstances without a lot of information or cooperation from the administration. I believe my vote is mostly symbolic here, and I support her effort to find more funding for climate initiatives. So I will be supporting this effort and what she's trying to do, understanding that this probably won't pass. But I am voting yes, because I think what she's trying to do here is very, very important, and I think legislators need to get more involved in the budget this way, and I think we need a better process to do so. So thank you.
Any other discussion? Legislator Brew.
Through you, Madam President, the budget was released on November 8th.
Okay, so here we are again. I guess I would be explaining my vote on this. I feel that there's been more than adequate time for this legislative body to review the budget and all the items and make our decisions based upon what we've seen and what's been available to us for over a month. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? None? Well, you saw some, oh, my apologies, Legislator Mack.
I would just like to explain my vote. It's understandable that it looks like on the surface, things like parking stipends that are here are somehow frivolous, and yet, when you're looking at something like a medical examiner's office, where the members of my community have been so affected by not knowing. There's a young man I went to school with, and we still really don't know what happened to him, and we think that maybe when the backlog is done with, we'll find out. But I know that many people in my specific community have expressed their concerns. One woman was not able to, specifically, to close out a life insurance policy because they didn't have a response from the medical examiner's office. So this is funding that is in dire need to this office, as dire a need as any of the offices that have gotten up to speak to us. They are overloaded with cases, and this county is doing the best that it can to try and bring them more funding to get through that backlog. So I will definitely be voting no on this. And again, a lot of these things that are here, another reason is that the stipends that are here seem to be something that has been put through for specific contractual reasons that we are now, if you are under contract, obligated in. So I want to commend the county for putting together a budget to serve so many people, and to have been so patient with all the questions that we did ask, and so patient during this process. And I will most definitely be voting no to this amendment.
Any other discussion? Voting on the main motion.
On the amendment.
Huh?
We're voting on the amendment.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, we are voting on the amendment. Thank you. Put forth by Legislator Hugh Smith.
Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes no. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes no. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes no. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes no. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes no. Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick votes no. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes no. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy votes no. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes no. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz votes no. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio votes no. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes no. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes no. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes yes. Ms. Hughes Smith. Ms. Hughes Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes no. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes no. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes no. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes no. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes no. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre votes no. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes no. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes no. Mr. Sinclair. Sinclair votes no. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes no. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. President Roman. President Roman votes no. 5 to 24. Amendment fails.
Okay. Any other discussion on the main motion? Yes, Legislator Dondorfer.
We're on the main motion, correct?
We are on the
Okay.
main motion.
At this point,
On the main motion.
all right, I'd just like to explain my vote real quick. Is there an amendment? Did I hear a whoa, whoa, whoa? No? Okay. Just checking. You never know.
Main
today.
motion.
Motion right now.
All right. Thank you. So public safety is not just a priority, it's a responsibility of us in this body. It's the foundation of a strong, free society, and this budget reinforces Monroe County's commitment to protecting our families, businesses, and our way of life. This budget delivers where it matters the most. It's renewed investments in the Juvenile Enhanced Diversion Services, the JEDS program, ensuring that at-risk youth have a path away from crime. For the first time ever, Monroe County's probation department will achieve its first accreditation. This monumental accomplishment is a testimony to our commitment to professional, effective oversight in the criminal justice system, ensuring accountability and safety in every corner of our county. Millions of dollars dedicated to combating the opioid epidemic, which is still continuing to wreak havoc on our streets. This budget also delivers historic wins for law enforcement and public safety personnel. Every union representing members of the Sheriff's Office is under, or soon to be under contract, a settled contract that is. Continued funding for our law enforcement supports the recent historic expansion of our Sheriff's Office, helping protect our families, friends, and neighbors. We are also investing in the infrastructure of justice with initiatives like the Regional Investigative Operations Center, a cutting-edge facility that will enhance investigative capabilities and streamline law enforcement collaboration. And the new centralized arraignment, helping get police back on the streets faster. This budget goes further than ever before, not just funding law enforcement, but also addressing root causes of crime and addiction. By doing so, we are creating a safer, stronger, and more united Monroe County. Monroe County is committed to protecting its citizens and preserving our shared values of freedoms, opportunity, and security. A safe community attracts families, business, and investments, fueling the economic growth and viability we need to prosper. Madam President, I'm proud to support this budget, one that prioritizes safety and well-being of every resident of Monroe County, and I will be casting my vote for yes.
Legislator Smith.
President, I would like to explain my vote as well. As legislators, we have the solemn duty to protect taxpayers by ensuring their hard-earned dollars are managed responsibly. We must deliver efficient, effective services while protecting against the rising costs our families face each and every day. This budget meets that standard and positions Monroe County for continued growth and success. For far too long, the west side of the county has been overlooked. This budget takes significant strides to address this inequality, prioritizing long-needed investments and enhancements that will directly benefit west side communities. Through the collaboration with my colleagues in the legislature and the administration, we've delivered meaningful updates to the west side, including a trail study for Northampton Park that will elevate its recreational opportunities for families and outdoor enthusiasts, needed improvements to west side parks and amenities like our golf courses, ensuring more residents can enjoy the natural beauty we are blessed to have, a new Code Blue location in Brockport to provide warmth, shelter to those experiencing homelessness who cannot easily travel to the city, and there's so much more. These are tangible results, projects that will enhance the quality of life for west side residents and demonstrate that their voices are heard. Additionally, this budget provides for critical services across the county. From the west side, it means funding for west side mobile DMV locations to make government services more accessible, increasing funding for our senior centers, ensuring our older residents have the resources they deserve, supporting our veterans with funding for our new remote west side Veterans Service Agency office in Greece, bringing vital services closer to home for those who have served our nation. This budget reflects a renewed commitment to delivering for all corners of Monroe County. It's about strengthening our towns, our villages, and communities, ensuring every resident has access to the services they need regardless where they live. I am particularly proud of the work we've done to uplift the West Side, a region brimming with potential and deserving of focused investment. With that, I'm proud to vote yes on the 2025 Monroe County budget, and I look forward to seeing the transformative investments continue to shape. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Mafucci.
Government budgets are about with adequate, sustainable, and equitable services. And a very basic understanding is about allocating scarce resources efficiently. Over the past few years, in a bipartisan way, we brought the county back from one of the highest fiscal stress levels while delivering essential services to residents more broadly. We've expanded significant financial support in areas most critical to residents: public safety, public health, and human services. I can't tell you how proud I am to be a part of this legislature and a part of this budget. I would like to thank Mr. Franklin and anyone else and everyone else involved in putting this budget together. It will continue to bring Monroe County back. Thank you very much. I will be supporting this budget.
Legislator Brew.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today in strong support of the proposed 2025 Monroe County budget, a budget that upholds the Republican Conference's core priorities of fiscal responsibility, lower taxes, and enhance public safety. This budget delivers a historic achievement by reducing the property tax to $6.03 per thousand of assessed value. This is the lowest in Monroe County's history. This tax rate cut is a result of years of conservative budgeting and fiscal discipline, which have put Monroe County in its strongest financial position to date. With exceptional credit ratings and strategic investments, this budget demonstrates our commitment to protecting taxpayers while maintaining essential services at the highest level. Public safety remains a top priority in this budget, with substantial investments in our sheriff's office and key initiatives like the centralized arraignment court to ensure deputies can return to the streets faster. The Juvenile Enhanced Division Stabilization, JEDS program, is being expanded, reinforcing our dedication to reducing juvenile crime and giving at-risk youth a chance to turn their lives around. This budget also takes a meaningful action to combat the opioid epidemic, dedicating millions to crisis response teams, naloxone distribution, and public education campaigns that save lives and protect families. And if I'd like to expand upon this last line where I'm mentioning public education campaigns. A number of years ago, the legislative body, in conjunction with the administration, brought a very comprehensive program to our local high schools, and with county support and county department heads dealing with frontline challenges of the opioid crisis. We brought a real life demonstration of what opioids can do to destroy lives of young people. I mentioned this to our county executive about 2 months ago, and we sat and we had a conversation about it. And I quote, and he says, "Steve, it's a great idea, let's do it." So I'm glad to see that this is incorporated in this budget, and I promise it's going to be well received by all the school districts in our county. Beyond safety, this budget invests in services that residents rely on every day, from new veterans service agencies in Greece and Webster to affordable child care programs that help working families thrive. It also enhances quality of life through improvements to our parks, recreational spaces, creating opportunities for families and communities to enjoy everything Monroe County has to offer. All of this is made possible by working collaboratively across government. I want to thank the administration for helping do just that for our residents. Most recently, VSA Director Stefanovic helping out with my local Legion and Reach Across America efforts to address a local funding shortfall, to their commitment to help fixing lighting issues to the War on Terror memorial brought by Legislator DeFlorio, to a trail study at Northampton Park brought up by Legislator Colby, and so much more over this year. Thank you to my colleagues in the legislature and administration for addressing the needs of not only your districts, but holistically across the county for the betterment of all. And I would be remiss if I did not say thank you to CFO Robert Franklin for all of his tireless work on which is no easy budget to put together, and for his years of service to this county, which have allowed us to stand in the financial position that we do today. I truly do not believe we would be able to do this without you. Madam President, budgets are indeed a reflection of our priorities, and this one proudly reflects the Republican Conference's commitment to fiscal discipline, tax relief, and public safety. I am proud to support this budget and cast my vote in favor. Thank you, and I yield.
Any other discussion? Legislator Colby.
I rise to explain my vote. First, I would like to say I'm glad to see that we did not cut the Sheriff's Department or the medical examiner's budgets this year. And I'd like to thank Bob Franklin and his staff for putting this budget together. I feel it's one of the tightest budgets I've seen over the years that I've sat in this legislative chambers. I also, even though it was already mentioned, like to thank Bob Franklin for highlighting the study in Northampton Park in his budget presentations he made earlier last week. But I do have some concerns. I am concerned about the budget over the next 2 to 3 years and where it's going to end up. And also, even though the rate has gone down, the tax levy has gone up in our county. But with these things put aside, I think this is one of the best budgets I've seen, and I'm glad to support it.
Thank you, Madam President. I too rise to explain my vote. In my years here as a legislator, I've been impressed by the process of reviewing and adopting a yearly budget. While every process can be improved, the ability of the legislature to review in detail each line item, ask questions, and get questions answered is very admirable. Unfortunately, there were legislators that were upset that we were asking too many questions. But that is our duty to our residents and those we represent. While no budget is perfect, and there are always those who will disagree with specific sections, etc., I truly believe there is something for all, and positive progress continues. I look forward to supporting this budget with a yes vote. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Legislator Udelson.
President. The budget we will vote on in a moment continues this administration's record of delivering for the community and addressing the financial challenges faced by the county executive when he took office. It emphasizes public safety, public health, and services to veterans and families. All of this is being done in a way that respects the impact county budget can have on taxpayers by approving the lowest property tax rate in recorded history. I look forward to supporting it. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Legislator Keller.
My colleague, Legislator Colby, for bringing up some concerns. The county is in excellent condition, thanks to Mr. Franklin, the administration, and this honorable body with our conservative guidance. But there are risks, and I only say this to urge perhaps caution, as we all know, moving forward. Certain estimates have to be made about the growth of sales tax. I mentioned that previously. Real estate values have climbed. Correspondingly, the assessments and our ability to have a very low tax rate. But in that, there was a very minor contribution for new growth, right? We all know the population in the state is in general declining. There's not tremendous new growth in the area. And so what we're seeing is elevated real estate prices. Certain assumptions have to be made about staffing levels. We've added a considerable number of staff to the county this year. I will, of course, be voting yes. I'm proud to vote yes, and the county is in very, very solid fiscal situation. But we just have to be aware that there are risks and certain assumptions going forward, and just urging all of us to be mindful of that and to be conservative as we consider expenditures going forward. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Voting on the main motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Congratulations. We will now have a brief recess so the county executive can sign the budget. Once the budget is signed, we will then move on with the rest of the agenda items. Thank you all. we now call this meeting back to order. As a point of clarification pursuant to county charter, the capital budget must be addressed immediately following the budget. We'll now move on to item number 52.
Item number 52, referral 24-0461.BR, authorized bond resolutions and interfund transfers for the 2025 Monroe County capital budget.
Moved by legislator Mafucci, seconded by legislator Udelson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. That is the last item of the night. There being no unfinished business. Legislator Udelson.
Adjourn, and then the next meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will be Tuesday, January 14th, 2025 at 6 p.m.
See you then. Thank you.